And I believe we are live. I certainly hope so, people. The signal should come through on my end too. And thank you so much for joining in this evening. We will be channeling the Arcturians, and you can. I'm trying to experiment with different ways of working these live streams that will work. And please let me know in the comments if the sound is off or anything. And otherwise, just post your questions in the comments, and I'll bring in Umblam and the Arcturian Council, and then they'll be happy to answer your questions. So we'll read them, and then we'll see what they have to say. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while, and I really enjoy doing these communal channelings. It's also a little challenging for the skill, so in that sense, it's a lot of fun. So without further ado, thank you for joining in, and hope you have a good one. And I'll see you on the other side. Hello, humans. Our love to you, our deepest, sincerest love to you. We are with you in this process. I'm Umblam of the Arcturian Council, and you know me well. But I am here tonight during this full moon in the constellation of Leo to let you know where you are at in your process and to guide you further in the direction that your heart is telling you to go. It's such a pleasure for us to observe what's going on. You will be, you should be, you certainly are experiencing the effects of the timeline shift that has been proclaimed to you for so long in so many different voices coming from the beyond into this realm to try and reach your hearts and guide you in the direction that you were always intended to go. Of course, you have free will, but free will aligns itself in its highermost form with the will of the cosmos, or the will of the divine, with the will of unfolding light. And so it is a pleasure to be with you this day. See the timeline shift you have been experiencing and the way that it presents itself in your individual life has certain markers. And if you are in a place right now where you are feeling decidedly stuck, where you feel you have been consumed by paranoia or information that does not uplift you or makes sense to you, then you have likely chosen a negative timeline. And it's imperative for your well-being that you begin to align with your heart energies and turn inward. On the contrary, if you are experiencing a sort of certainty in your trajectory, a feeling that transformation is occurring in your life, and we are speaking of inner transformation and alignment, then you have certainly chosen the path that your soul intended to set you on. This does not, of course, mean that your life is a bed of roses. On the contrary, this means that as your energy field expands, you are also experiencing it coming into contact with those things that are out of alignment. See, a lot of things are hiding in the Akashic, and these are the things that need to be integrated into that widening energy field. Another consequence of this is that you are trying to fit yourself and your experience into the chain of events that make up collective human experience. That is to say, your physical environment may have changed, or you may feel called to move somewhere else. And this is a calling that you would benefit from healing. You may also have been experiencing the need to change your diet. This does not necessarily mean that you are eating more healthy, but it means that you may have had inexplicable cravings for things that would ground or center or comfort you. There is a lot of volatile energy in this full moon, but it is energy that is pushing you forward to bring you into your heart. It is from that place that existence is created, and it is from the collective human heart that truth arises into this world. We are so pleased to be with you. We would like to offer you an opening blessing, and then we look forward to answering your questions. A lot rising in the cosmos, ascending, emerging, bringing itself together with itself in counterpoints of mirroring understanding. A song is building, rising. This is the song of human ascension. It is a vibrational symphony of ascending harmony, and you are teaching us all lessons of what to be and how to integrate things that are disparate and that have yet to come together in this galaxy or in this universe. It is a beautiful experiment that we are proud and happy to take part in. Though you are the forerunners and you are doing the important work, you are the ones who are on the front lines of existence, experiencing yourself as vibratory light patterns in dense energies that seem to confront you with a lot of challenges. You already know to learn from these challenges, but we remind you that it would be wise to keep that lesson in the forefront of your mind, because you are moving into a place of awakenings. This means that what is hidden is becoming revealed to you, and what is dysfunctional is no longer helpful and requires both ingenuity and resolution. We would like to remind you that those resources are within you and that you can access them through practices such as song, dance, energy work, meditation, or whatever calls you to express yourself and align with the greater idea of you. Blessed are you humans. We are happy to be here, and we hope that you have questions for us. So hopefully, guys, we will have any questions. Otherwise, I will simply ask them to comment further on what's going on. And hey to everyone who's saying hey out there too. So please bring your questions forward if you have any. Yes, we can comment on the energy of Leo. See, this is a powerful sign. It is a sign that awakens the forces within you to express themselves. Its negative aspect is that of arrogance and egotism. Its positive aspect is that of assertion and the exertion of will. There is choice within existence. There are great choices to align with. And you may experience in this coming year that those choices, they grow more vivid. You have been put on pause, so to speak. It is almost as if you have been relegated to taking a time out in the corner. And now you are all of a sudden being asked to give a lecture to yourself about what you experienced in that corner. So make your own intentions for what you do very clear, because the manifesting space is becoming very powerful, and it will be much easier for you to see your intentions reflected and played back to you in outward happenstances. It is a curious thing in this density. We appreciate it very much, and we have enjoyed studying it, because essentially things are not as solid from where we come from. Things exist in energetic alignments, and we see all the things that are not present in a moment as defining that moment, as a type of circumference of negativity surrounding that beautiful moment of creation that you are within. It may seem as though the world is outside you, and it may seem as though it is beyond your control, but it is being created by the energy that flows through you. And that energy is no different from the highermost energy that creates everything in this cosmos. We will then open the channel's eyes to see if any of you have brought forward questions. Yes, someone is asking us whether we expect a market crash. This is an interesting question. We do not expect a market crash. Instead, we do expect certain types of bubbles to be pierced, but the idea of a crash is not one that aligns with our energy. You see, we view processes as naturally containing both a creation and a breaking point. And that market you have created that you speak of crashing has already crashed. It would be quite natural for it to crash again. Actually, it is very well understood by anyone who studies these mechanisms that it most certainly will. And it is not beneficial for you to attempt to create these type of false values within your system. Know that currency does not hold an intrinsic value. It is both the brilliance of this idea that it is exchangeable, but it is also detrimental to the well-being of humans as they actually are, that is to say, in communion with the physical world and the densities of it, that they should align with the idea of creating wealth or prosperity out of thin air. It is not something that pleases the soul. We do not judge you, but we would remind you that what your soul is seeking to do is to have joyful and pleasant experiences. And it has been long foretold and taught you that these joyful experiences are essentially not to be had in the accumulation of wealth. It is a type of almost erotic fascination as we perceive it as we understand humankind's, that you like to see this buildup of tense energy, both in your inner and your outer bodies, and it can become a type of addiction. This is one of the reckoning patterns we are speaking to. And therefore, please know that you will not lack or want for anything that is important to you, but you will begin to, in the coming decade, lack and want for some of these excitements and energies See, much as any type of energy that could be described as dark has the pattern of exciting you before it leaves you more depleted than before, then this will also happen to the way you relate to many of these stimuli that you have artificially created to, in many ways, turn your attention away from the processes and the sacred technology within you. And many of you have been, as you have been located in your homes, experienced a type of technology fatigue. You tire of the peptides and the neurochemicals that keep you bound to a lot of these streams of distraction. Yes, and we will take another question, and we bless you for that one. Question, Janadi. I feel like I get 90% of each breath and only sometimes a full 100%. 90% feels good, but how do I get full capacity, deep breath each time? It is a very good question. But know that breath is, in that sense, expansive. It has both a physical dimension, and of course, in that sense, it relates to your physical lung capacity. But see, the body doesn't necessarily work that way. Notice that when you build something up to capacity, what it does is it adjusts itself to be able to accumulate a little more. So if you begin to lift dumbbells, you would experience that you will reach a limit, and then 2 days later on, that limit will have sort of progressed to a point that is, again, just without your reach, and you will have to train yourself up into that point. What we are saying is be content with the 90%, because if you are keeping a 90% level, it actually means that you are expanding your capacity to take in breath physically from day to day. As your lungs residing in 90%, the 90% becomes a bigger part of the totality of air that you are able to pack in. And so it is good to reach 100%, but also notice that 100% denotes the full accumulation of air within your lungs. This would mean that it would actually be quite unpleasant for you to experience it. Well, a metaphor or a comparison we could use is that notice that it's rarely very pleasant to be in sunlight that is so intense that it is blinding, and you actually prefer a slight mixture of darkness in that light in order to actually perceive it. You will also notice as you begin to move your breath work that there are subtleties you can work and move with in this process. That is to say, there are always new spaces in your body that you can breathe through. We will use the example of the body that we are coming through, as he has been doing a lot of energy work in these past years, which means that he is also discovering all the places where energy doesn't flow freely through him. He is discovering that there is a wide expanse within his skull and within his throat that is not utilized properly. And by relaxing these things, energy can actually flow to different spaces and then connect better into the central chakras or energy points of your body. It is always good to reach for the stars, but sometimes you burn your hands when you actually try to hold one. What we are saying is be satisfied with the progress instead of being dissatisfied with not reaching the final result. The only end game there is that a new game then begins, and you will have to set a new 100% goal. but we commend you for your work, and we assure you that you are guided in this process and that we are very happy to see you expand your breath. It is not only beneficial for your physicality and your personal energetic body, it actually relaxes and calms the people that you interact with. The more spirit you pack into your body, and you may be aware that spirit actually means literally breath in the language that it arose from. The more spirit you pack into your body, the greater service you allow spirit to do in this world. And that we thank you for. Greetings, Umblam. It is such a joy to share in your energy. Yes, you too. He's letting us know. And another cycle of negativity in relation to financial collapse. I would assume they answered that in the last question, I think. And thank you, Heather. Would you look at my energy body and see if there's a break between my high heart, thymus chakra, and my heart chakra? If there is, could I request a healing for this? Yes, thank you for that beautiful question, Laura. Yes, and we apologize for working the other question first. We have things to add to that cycle of negativity, which the channel's mind was unable to comprehend, because we would like to explain to you that no, these cycles of negativity are assuredly done. You will see it has been proven that, or at least demonstrated, that these breaking points are unhealthy. So many of your economies have not managed to restructure themselves or reintegrate. And many of the problems that you experienced in that last cycle of negativity are still stuck in the system. You have in that way glossed over it, but it will become necessary, much as it was in that great crash you experienced. We believe it was the 29th of October, 1929, with the following economic depression, that it became necessary to turn into collective solutions. We also know that this manifested in many places in negative ways, and in other places in far more positive ways. But you will begin to see this on a scale of a much greater magnitude. See, you have actually developed all the infrastructures you need to be able to organize a system that is far more automated and far more accustomed to suiting and evaluating individual needs without becoming oppressive or standardized, or without flowing into the excesses of personal greed. And this is the balance you are reaching and turning to. And so look at the homeostasis of the plants. This will be a vision for much of your technology in the coming century. Homeostasis. It is the question of the feeling of equilibrium and the creation of it. And therefore we also turn to the question of dear Laura, who is asking us about this break between her heart and her throat chakra. We are happy to read it for her. And we would say, yes, there is a sort of impediment. And usually, as you also know, you would not bring up this question if it hadn't presented itself in your mind, and it wouldn't have presented itself in your mind, such as it did, unless you felt there was something there to be healed. We could use the analogy of you rarely think about being full when you are actually full, and unless you feel you have eaten too much, then you usually reside in a state of equilibrium that doesn't call for conscious attention. But as soon as you become hungry, you are called to figure out what to eat. And there we will also point to a solution, because notice that you are so creative about what you eat, and we enjoy very much also experiencing that side of planet Earth and humanity's interaction with it, because you are good at creating recipes and making this necessity into a type of celebration. And we advise you to do the same with the problem that you are describing, because the solution is in many ways to put your hands up, as it is popularly known, that is to bring out your inner party. You have so much love and wisdom residing in your energy body, and it is beaming out from your heart, and many people are picking up with it on it. And what is quite typical then of a character such as yourself is that you are essentially too hard on yourself. That because there is this type of block where the heart energy is somehow or slightly impaired in the way it expresses itself through the throat chakra, that is to say, it aligns with the outer energies in order to turn into higher manifestations and affect the physical world. This is a type of impairment that you may experience. And so to practice speaking your mind would be helpful. Also to practice singing or humming would be helpful. To practice deep relaxation in the neck would be good. And it is as simple as you taking the time to circle your head one way and then the other. Maybe do this for a few minutes a day, should you want to, but do not make it a chore, because that would put further pressure on your heart, and your heart center is growing and expanding. It will reach the point of expression. Have no worry, you are already on that path. You would not have had the experiences you have had and returned to this place if it was not to touch the world with your light. And we would very much love to give you a healing blessing for it. And you are very welcome to stand back and feel this vibration that we transmit to you. And of course, all of you are very welcome to go in as we do this type of collective heart healing. What was locked in, let it be set free. What is set free, let it spread its wings. Let it spread its wings and fly. What is flying, let it soar to the sky, and there pick up the sunlight and bring it down to earth, to remind you of the love that this planet holds for you, and of the great infinity of the sky, of which you are an eternal part. Thank you. Our blessings to you, dear one. Perfect. I will do some questions from some people who haven't asked and then come back, but please keep them coming. We will go through them. Hologenics asks, how come the constant heartbreak and isolation? Yes, this is a tough question, and we thank you very much for it, as we sense that it is personally relevant both to the channel that we are coming through, to you, and to so many people stuck in this cycle of creation. See, You are fulfilling a role in the all that is akin to that of the martyr. We do not mean this negatively or as a type of criticism, but it means in many ways that your soul project and what you volunteered to do was to become a type of pylon for these energies of consciousness. So much of that heartbreak and isolation that is within your life are things and patterns that you have not created. Instead, what happened in your specific individual case was that you came in at a point and in a context where you were, let us say, pure or untainted by karma to the degree that you were instead able to pick up on a lot of both your ancestral karma and the collective karma. And it is being transmuted and transformed by your ability to sit with it and exist with it. And we also sense that you have a very strong aptitude for then finding the beauty in immediate experience. Know that a lot of the work that you have done in this lifetime has touched others, but also know that a lot of the work that you have done in this lifetime will touch the ages, and there is a benefit there that is almost invisible from your vantage point, but that will surely help humanity in its process forward and its forgiving of the darkness within itself and its understanding of what it can be and what it is going to be. We will bring forward a heartbreaking example because it is often the case for many of these souls who come in to change humanity that they experience a type of life of martyrdom, of creation. You find them in your arts and you find them in your religions. You even find them in your sciences. Take an example such as the Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh. It is said that at his funeral, his brother had collected his images, and anyone who were kind enough to attend were allowed to take as many as they wanted, though no one did. Of course, you know the paradox of this, as he is one of the most celebrated spirits and has a sense of immediate expression. He speaks the clear language of spirit, of compassion, of infinity, expressed in the particular. It is a thing quite serene, and it is often grown from that fertile soil of trauma. Literally, you grow your plants in manure, that is to say, from the waste of time itself and the processes of life. You begin to grow greater gardens of order or understanding of loving compassion within you. And as it might seem troubling and trying in these times, there is great compassion growing in the human heart. There is a great sense that you are connected to a collective, that you are having a global experience, and that this global experience requires everyone to fit into the chain of creation where they most belong. We can also assure you that in the time you have on this planet, and it is still quite a long time, you will begin to see that the energies that are inherent in your system will vibrate far more in sync and in harmony with the collective patterns. And so heartbreak is a curse to the individual, but it is often a gift to the collective. And We hear all your guides thanking you very much for being the avant-garde of their intention to bless the world. And you have our blessings and support as well. I heard from a different, Marian Mack, good to have you with us. I heard from a different channeler there was a new universal law passed which will make a very big difference as to what the GF can do here on Earth. Is this true? Yes, this is very much true. This is a good way of perceiving it. See, what we have described as your fifth dimensional alignment is a type of construction of your physical space or expansion of your physical space into different things. So you may also notice from that system you describe it with the idea that a treaty has been passed, that these treaties often allow for greater exploration of the ordering of expressing something unknown. It is not without difficulty that you build these collective systems of greater communication, but they are often conducive to a more streamlined idea of what can take place and how things should be done. This does not mean that the Galactic Federation is essentially messing with your business, but that is to say that you may have known that Earth was for a long time a type of free zone where many energies were free to play around. But now many of these energies have been relegated to that thing you may think of as the dark timelines or negative vibrational patterns. It is becoming harder and harder for more negative or destructive or controlling influences to exert their will, and it is becoming easier for the influx of galactic energies from your high vibrational brethren and the seed races to touch you. And this is fully in accordance with all the spirits that also tend to the processes on Earth. And so, yes, be happy that it will be much easier to align with these energies, which means that it will also be much easier to gain access to the wisdom of your guides. And if you return to the message we gave to you in the beginning, this is also a thing that relates to the quickening of manifestation and the merging of intent with change in the outside world. We bless you for this question. We bless the listener, and we thank you for turning your attention into aligning with the energies that are coming in from your galactic brethren. They wish you well, as do we. And we are, of course, a part of this federation, but we also enjoy interacting with our own benevolent agendas with the species of humankind. Yes, and we'll go back to, I think here are some more questions on the Galactic Federation. Yes. What is the real name of Galactic Federation? How many races are involved? Are there also malevolent races members of the Galactic Federation? Yes, we enjoy very much interacting with humankind. Of course, the Galactic Federation has a lot of names, and the idea of a real name would be like asking, what is the real name of the United Nations? It is called something different in different human languages. And so the name for the Galactic Federation it arises from a type of vibration that we could express in human terms within your system of vibrational comprehension as the vibration of and that is a way you can contact them. But then, of course, every race that participates in this will have their own version of how to approach them, as they come from different parts and have taken very different evolutionary trajectories in different compositions of molecules. And therefore, it is best for you to approach them with that idea. It has approximately 729,382 members at present, of which humans are a kind, but they are affiliated in different degrees. Some are quite unaware, some are awakening to their membership and are already communing with parts of the Galactic Federation, if not the entirety. And some lend their energies to the project through a voluntary soul level, but they are not necessarily conscious of their own participation from the material standpoint or fixation of their consciousness. So yes, there are malevolent races, but we do not necessarily perceive it as such. For instance, notice that the reptilians, those shape-shifting entities, have had quite a lot of interaction with the energies of Earth. But from our perspective, these are not necessarily malevolent. They are just playing out agendas that you may perceive as negative, so much as you see that the rats in your cities are quite negative to humankind, but they are performing a function of eating things that you yourself would not ingest, for instance. And they are also a part of the planetary project. And in that sense, so are the malevolent entities, because they have things to learn and to do. And we have also established that it is better to communicate with dark forces than it is to shut them out. Thank you. Yes, and then Jana asks, does the manifestation space start from the balance middle point between white and black, and then from there one creates preferred feeling? Yes, this is a very good image. Notice that you would not be a part of the visible world if you weren't a little more white than you are black. That is to say that if there wasn't a slightly greater degree of your being that was visible or manifested than was hidden. And we don't necessarily attach any value to this, but of course, if you are a being that exists a little bit more on one spectrum than the other, you will also be a little bit more aligned with the values of existence or the manifest compared to that unmanifest. But know that they are feeding into each other, and therefore it is good to perceive yourself astrally standing on a body of both surfaces. You could almost think of it as you straddling this space, and your soul in the middle is then choosing what to integrate. What you are describing is an idea of serene manifestation. That is to say, the manifestation that creates universes. Often humans will, if not to say always, find themselves in a situation that they will have to deal with, and where the energies are a little askew because they are in the process of negotiating themselves around you and through you. And it is good for you then to return to your central axis, and you can perceive both sides of yourself as white and black, and then begin rotating it. So you could think of the front side as white and the backside as occluded, which is quite a normal way to experience it. And then you can shift that so it becomes the left side that is black and the right side that is occluded, which is also a more normal way of experiencing it. But then when you turn around that, it becomes the front side that is suddenly closed off to perception, and the back side, you will begin to experience influxes of what is happening. And yes, it is helpful, and you can go into preferred feeling, but know that you will never escape what you may think of as unpreferred or negative feeling as long as you are judging it as such. Because from the soul perspective, this is like giving you this type of negative experience is like giving you that piece of the puzzle that you can't fit in, or giving you that part of the crossword that you simply cannot solve. It's trying to place an obstacle there to be understood and to be integrated. And we know that there has been many entities coming through that communicate to you that you can, in a sense, manifest what you want. And this is quite true from a spiritual perspective, but you are not fully a holy spiritual. And if you were, or if that was what you chose, you would not be in a situation where you also experience the material now. So there is a great joy to be uncovered in the material world and in the integration of what is not preferred. And we notice that there is we would like to remind you that there is an important caveat in that description of the law of attraction or manifestation of the excitement principle that comes through that famous benevolent entity Bashar, and that is that you are acting in accordance with your highest excitement, but with no expectation of the outcome. So do not feel, or do not necessarily equate that, the manifestation of unwanted things as a type of failure, because it might actually have been that you have aligned so much with your excitement that you are now able to manifest things that were hitherto too difficult for you to work with. And that is also the deep surprise of existence, that there are these unexpected outcomes, and that they usually, in a sense, blow up in your face. And there's a humor to that seen from spirit. We know this can seem quite merciless, but no, there is also a rawness to life that you enjoy, or else you wouldn't have aligned with existing in it. And it is quite helpful to realize this in order to progress with manifesting without expectation of what gifts may be brought to you from it. Thank you, and we bless you very much for that question and for being you where you are. Yes. I think I will just, sorry guys, I'm just jumping questions a little to also see what questions you are bringing through. Oh, Sophia asks, what will happen to our animals and ecosystem in this ascension journey? Blessings to you. We thank you for that beautiful question. Your animals, yes, they too have to deal with the new energies. Many patterns and ideas of evolutionary experience have been played out through the last couple of billion years on your planet. And now a lot of them seem to have finished their trajectory on Earth. This is also what you know as the 5th period of mass extinction. And there are many animals that are not aligning with where you are going, but also know that you are becoming good at conserving a lot of these energies. And what will happen to the planet is that you will begin to create greater and greater zones of, let us say, tranquil nature that is allowed to run its own programs in sustainable ecosystems. And there you will also realize that innermost calling, that nature of yours as a gardener in the garden, well, in the forest of chaos, you are the gardener that grows these flowers and tend to the animals and make sure that they are also having a better experience and are not suffering needlessly. This is a deep human calling. It is often felt for highly spiritual people, as you find it often far easier to interact with those unconfusing patterns of experience that you find in your relationship to animals. Know that many other animals will begin to arise on your planet. It will be difficult for you to explain at first, but in the beginning of the 22nd century, you will begin to see not only new insect species, but different types of mammalian experiences that arise from these shifting vibratory patterns. Know that with the shifting energies come also a tendency towards mutations and a move towards experiments of physical matter vibrating slightly faster. You may, for instance, know that you have discovered that certain types of fungal species actually thrive on the radioactive energies in the wreckage of Chernobyl. And you will be surprised at how ingenious and resourceful your Mother Earth is for filling the niches and vacuums that arise in nature as certain animals pass away. You are also beginning to conserve a lot of genetic material. And we sense around the years 260 from where we perceive you are going, you will also begin to repopulate many of your natural areas with species that are going extinct, such as, for instance, the rhinos. They will return to you. And they are teaching you, of course, a lesson about appreciation and about the destructive power that humans actually wield when they are set on dominating their physical space. Thank you. Sailesh asks, greetings Umblam, it's Sailesh here, and before I start, I know that you are loved. I would like a body scan and would appreciate any feedback that you may have. Thank you. Yes, blessings to you, Sailesh. We sense that your body is opening up, but we sense that it would do you good to sit less. That is to say, there is this type of hunchback experience that is common in humans when they relate to furniture. It is happening right now in the channel's body as it is happening to anyone who finds themselves seated in a position that tilts them slightly forward. And a good way for you to counteract this would be to rotate your arms. So that gymnastic swing where you extend your arms and then turn them to one side and then the other. And see, the reason that we are pointing to this in particular is because your solar plexus area is becoming activated. This is the seat of human will, and you are beginning to exert your will far more greatly. We sense that you may still feel some trouble in dealing with and integrating the framework of your body and what goes around it, but that is to say the lower parts and your belly may still have some sort of pain, but notice that it is a condensation of energy and it's looking to explode. And so a helpful way to try to release this is, and we know this may sound a little strange, but try to envision it. It is to try to kick your own behind with your heels. And you can do this standing where it might be difficult, and you can also do it lying on your back. Both are beneficial. And you will sense that this will actually tend to shake your organs loose, also because that condensation is essentially seated around the sacrum. It is that sacred point where the more passive energies of nourishment and digestion feed into the active system of movement. And it is a place that is troublesome for bipedals that need to compress themselves in order to actually move around on a planet with a gravitational pull. Therefore, it would be good for you to do these type of spreading exercises. It would greatly serve you. And those we sense are the most important things in your body. We would like to remind you that your throat is quite open and that there seems to also be quite a great influx of energy into your head that is serving you and is teaching you a lesson about thinking and overthinking. And so when you connect that head energy to that exertion that's building in your heart and primarily in your third chakra, you will begin to see a more forceful and effectful direction of your intention. And you are, as many other individuals who have been in a type of cocoon through the years preceding this, you are being moved into a space where you are being asked to also influence physical and political reality and do this in accordance with your higher calling, because what is happening is the emergence of something into your physical and social lives that is yet to be seen. And it is a great blessing. It's a type of opening and participation. It's a type of rethinking power as something that is brought forward from human action rather than released from above to oppress you. And that is an important process that you are unfolding. And we bless you in this and thank you for being here with us and for the love that you exchange with us. Blessings. Yes. And then it says, what do you sense in me? Soul bonds. And I'll just do the comment. Always, the more details you can give, the better answers you can give. And also because the name is not a real name, it can be a little difficult to do these scans. So always remember the more details you can give when asking questions, the better. Thanks. Yes, notice that you are always, in a sense, in soul bonds. And so this can be, and we are enjoying interacting with human perception here because we understand that this can be interpreted in different ways. We presume what you are referring to is the idea that your soul is bonded to other people, other spirits, other things in the universe, your spirit guides, and relating back to source through your oversoul. This is completely true. This could not be any other way. And you are experiencing that. But we point to the ambiguity in the expression, because a bond can, of course, also be something that binds you. And this is in many ways what we sense that you are feeling sort of captivated or enticed by interpersonal relations, and that you would like for these interpersonal relations to be affirmed of something of a higher value, of a higher nature. And there we will just remind you that what is real stands on its own, and what is illusion needs your active and constant participation to be affirmed. And so notice when you try to eliminate your understandings or expectations of what is going on, you will actually see the true nature of that bond, which is to say you will be able to see the emotional reality underlying the words and perceptions you have of it. And that is a link in the heart. And therefore it would be very helpful for you to try to separate thought from emotion and try to separate thought from action. And so when you have this trinity of things separated, you will begin to see how they affect and understand and affect and influence each other, and how emotional reality affects your understanding, but also how the patterns or stories that you tell yourself on top of this reality may suppress some of this emotional influx. Therefore, emote more and think less is our brief advice to you. And we bless you for seeking our guidance and for being here with us, and know that we are there with you. Thank you. Oh, no, no, don't worry, you're late. Thank you for being here, Lorenda. Yes, we will just go down here for some questions. So if we let go of judgment and just observe, we had a better opportunity. I want to say if there's a Casas. So if we let go of judgment and just observe, we have a better opportunity to choose which perspective or which lens we want to see through. I feel stuck. The knots in my stomach have turned to butterflies, but I still feel stuck. Is this a personal issue, or is this a collective issue or a cosmic issue? How can I get movement again? This is a very good question. Yes, this is in essence a very good perspective. The idea that if you let go of judgment, because discernment is a deeper dimension of judgment, and we believe that there was a message transmitted through this vessel by the Archangel Michael, distinguishing between these two levels recently, meaning that in which he explained that judgment adheres or to an idea of objective or universal law, that is to say that you perceive the things you experience as something that is inherent in nature and not necessarily dependent on your personal perception and reality. And therefore, notice that yes, when you let go of these layers of thought, you come into a deeper layer of emotional discernment that is very helpful to you. And this feeling of being stuck and the knots in your stomach, they are a type of, let us say, soma energetic, that is to say energetics that have condensed in your body. It is a type of ancestral karmic pattern that has then renewed itself in your own life and picked up. And we sense that it is in many ways also bringing forward the lesson that, well, it does not only mean that you become judged by judging, but it also means that by being judged, as we sense you have been to a great extent in your life, you will actually begin to integrate these things as a type of internal tense punishment within you. And notice the stomach is in many ways related to the center of pure enjoyment. It is the ability to take in the world and allow it to also feed and nourish you. And seeing as you are sensitive, it would be very difficult for you not to experience some of these patterns, tensions. There is a very heady and frenetic energy going on in the collective at present. It is changing with this full moon, but today it is very much vivid and alive. But you personally are experiencing this on top of a layer that is personal and is related to ancestral karma. And the best way you can alleviate this is to practice forgiving yourself for having been in situations that you were unable to control and to unfold or take part in. Forgiving yourself for thinking that you were somehow responsible for creating your reality to the extent that you shouldn't have had these experiences. Because in a sense, you are clearing up those patterns by becoming aware of them. And so there is a release to be had here. And we sense that anything highly citric in value would be able to act as a permission slip for you to clear up these patterns. That is to say, grape juice or sour lemon juice or sour oranges or things that have a slightly more bitter nature would actually be good to then connect into these, you could say, bitter energies that have condensed because they're unable to reach your conscious expression. You are actually distancing from them, and that is where the awareness of them as a problem arises. And then to allow this influx to go in and heal you. And then from that healing, sense that there is actually an energetic value in the citric that is allowing it to be dissolved. And so the vitamin C is a type of high vibrational influx. It's both what releases and keeps things in place. It's what maintains your tissues. And so it will be very helpful as you release these patterns to know that you are regrowing your tissues and the lining of your stomach with a greater sense of integrity and fortitude. And you will be able to subsume and consume and change and transform and gestate so much of this energy that has been stuck in you and release it into a helpful pattern. But we know that these coming years will be tough on many of you as you participate in the chaos that precedes the creation of the new. Thank you, and our blessings and healing to you. Yes, someone asks, when will I get Predator 7? When will I get full subliminal results? Yes, again, what an interesting and amusing experience it is for us to interact with human perception. We answered the idea of physical fullness and the aim for perfection earlier as we related to breath, and we advise you to listen, explain. But seeing as you term yourself predator and seeing that you speak of subliminal results, we sense that the results that will be reaching you will be ones of great darkness. And so you are caught in a very negative timeline, and the results that you are looking for, do not fear, because you get what you wish in this lifetime. And you will, within a period of 4 months, experience your life turning from bad to worse. This is, of course, not to frighten you, but to allow you to realign with other intentions that your soul is bringing forward. It would be far more helpful, or at least pleasant to you, if you gave up the idea of results and instead turned your attention to immediacy. That is to say, try to look for what is already present, because there is, in a sense, from our perspective, no such thing as there's subliminal. There are only things unfolding in consciousness and without it, but there is not a type of attainment process that you necessarily need to reach. This is a process that is orchestrated from a different point of view than from the idea of personal attainment, and therefore you will not experience the results that your soul wants, which is to say more meaning, more integration, more helpfulness, more understanding, more forgiveness. You will not attain any of these things before you have first taught yourself the negative lessons of trying to attain what will not benefit you. And know that should you turn towards it, you have our support and you have our energy, and you have the energy of your spirit guides and the angelic to also help you. But at present, these are found outside of you, and go look for them within, and there you will see a better path to follow. Our blessings to you. There are many who say there are human clones. Is this true? Do human clones exist? And if so, would they be empty shells, no true consciousness, controlled by someone else? What an interesting question. See, when the seed races created humanity, we worked quite a lot with the technique that you might think of as cloning. That is to say, we created the same pattern and repeated it many times, and then we let this pattern be expressive in natural environment and allowed to discover itself. And this is essentially the progress of humanity. Even though humankind has rather nonsensically also explored the idea of racial differences and the construction of social orders based on this idea, notice that humankind contains very, very little genetic variation compared to many of your primate cousins, such as the chimpanzees or other great apes. That is to say, from a perspective that we do not necessarily like to express, because we sense that it might be perceived darkly. You could think of humans as clones that have then been altered slightly by their experiences and environment through generations, but that are generally animated or controlled by a greater oversoul spirit, which is eternal and which is using it for its own ends. But of course, this is a very negative way to explain that idea that you are an eternal soul, alight with joy and creation and safety and knowledge, and that is simply enjoying to have this experience of trying to see itself as a limited body that is unfolding. And so if you aim at the idea that there are organizations who clone humans and then control them, no, such a technology does not exist, and it would not be permitted to be accessed by humans before you reach a far greater level of understanding of both the material and the spiritual, at which you will not arrive, for we sense at least the next 5 centuries. So have no fear regarding this. but thank you for allowing us to explain that. Yes. Regina says, thank you so much for your channeling. The channeling of the other day mentioned the overheating. Is there anything we can do to reduce the overheating? Yes, what a beautiful question. You can do quite a lot of things to alleviate this process. The easiest way to do it is to submerge yourself in salt water. Though we know that many humans do not necessarily live close to the oceans, and therefore another way of doing this would be to seek out cool air and a slightly lower concentration of oxygen in the atmosphere, such as you reach by climbing altitudes. As notice that we are pointing to these things, these two natural phenomena, which naturally have also been the reminders of your connection to the absolute reality of existence, the mountains and the oceans. These are ways you can do it. But should you want to perform a readjusting of your alignment within your own home, a good way to do it is that simple apana breath we have pointed to before. That is to say, you breathe in and then you breathe out with a double count. And you can work with the pauses between that. But the important thing is that, well, it is the length of the range, is the length of the exhale, or it's the duration of the exhale as it, when you have breathed out before you inhale, that are important in allowing yourself to lower this vibration. And when you are in that state, that is the state of exhaling, you can feel an energy that is quite subtle, but that is coursing through your veins, and that is bringing them to not necessarily vibrate any slower, but allowing them to not be frenetic in that pattern, and instead find its place again in the chain of existence, that is to say, the existence within your body. And that will be very helpful. Then there is also consuming water. And we know you are being told this all the time, but drink more water. It is very helpful. Thank you, and blessings to you for being with us and aligning with this work. Yes. Yes, I will just select a few of these questions that we have time for and try to prioritize the ones that are here. So Laura asks, can you tell me who in my staff family are working with me as guides, teachers to expand my understanding and capacity to bring through quanta energy? Yes. There is an energy of great love here, we sense. We have traveled far and wide in the cosmos, but it is rare that we experience this bright light, and it is emerging from the dog star. It is the star of Sirius that is coming through you, and it is essentially, it's the 8th dimensional Sirians. So it's the place where they are aligned with their star energy that they're transmitting to you. And there is a type of entity here blessing you. The name, it's if what is it? Iflin clock, it's an E, an F, an L, an E, an N, a Q, an L, an O, and a K. Oh no, he's telling us to switch the K and the Q, so it's a K, an L, an O, and a Q. It's a type of you see, this entity doesn't have a gender because it's so ascended, but it has the idea of regulating it. So you could think of it as a type of priest king, almost like a pharaoh, that guards over the regulation of the sacred techniques that they build in their stars. They're building a type of, they're actually expanding your Merkaba, but it is a type of construction of a spaceship you are then able to step into and allow yourself to be transported up to healing sessions. Syrians are very, very good at working with material energies and healing them and bringing it into it. They have actually understood some things that we have not in this process, and their physicality or their physical vibration is also closer to that of Earth. So they are, in a sense, better at working with healing such things as broken bones or broken hearts for that case, for that matter. And yes, this Eflin clock is advising you to align the pharaonic energy. It is an interesting message, but it is to also allow yourself to yourself as that regal entity within your own space. And you can think of it as, notice that the regal energy is often expressed in the symbolism of the eagle or other birds of prey, such as the falcon. If you go to museums that depict Egyptian artifacts, you often see that the pharaoh contains a falcon in the back of his head, and that is that place that they're allowing to seat you. So it's a type of crystalline palace within the ethers that they're expanding your Merkaba into. And this will be a place where you can, it's almost like a house where you can enter different doors and then be able to access those different insights and spiritual techniques that are hiding within it. It is a quite interesting place, and we look very much forward to you exploring it in conjunction with your guides and your family, and we thank you for that. And so, Sophia asks, do those ascended planets still have an ecosystem? Yes, this is a good question. See, some planets, when they ascend, they in a sense do it in a different frequency band. And so for other planets in this solar system, such as Jupiter, there is actually a type of spiritual process that has played out of this, and the planet has moved itself into that realization of what its idea of its own energies and the exploration of them could pass, but it exists in a different frequency band. So, and this is often done in the arrangement of solar systems, in the movement of the celestial bodies, to not interfere with the frequency bands that exist on those other planets. So notice that you, for instance, have become conscious of the traces of biological life on Mars. And there have also been energies playing those out in the Martian realms and are still doing so. But these exist more on a geological level, that is to say a lower density or unascended level, while on Jupiter there is actually a lot of energy that is quite high pitch and therefore very difficult to perceive. But yes, many ascended planets still have ecosystems, and Earth will continue to have an ecosystem because there is an integration here. This is a type of integrational project, and Earth, as has been pointed out many times, is a coming together of many codes that have been spread throughout the universe. And your planet is also a very ancient one that has had many experiences also as other planets in different galaxies. See, planets also adhere to oversouls and are playing out different resonant experiences throughout time and space. But yes, it would not be instrumental for Earth to become barren. Instead, the experiment that she is wanting to have with you is that one of symbiosis, whether or not it is possible to actually have a, let us say, slightly volatile or free-willed entity carrying out its own processes and still aligning with those things that they came from. So not necessarily transcending them, but actually integrating with them and discovering the divine within them and how that divine is connected to realms that are for you and to you invisible right now. We hope that answered that question, and we are very happy to illuminate it. It is quite a beautiful vision that's playing out here on Earth, and we enjoy very much observing it. Blessings. Yes, I'm just checking. I am just checking if there are anyone who hasn't had too many questions answered. Because I think no more. Yes, please hold the questions. There aren't too many coming in, and then we'll look at the ones down here. Yes, and Regina follows up with, so the tingling sensation I'm experiencing at the top of my skull are the downloads from the cosmic creator and dream team of ancestors, archangels, spirit guides. Wow, this is amazing. I think they're just saying you're exactly right on the money, and notice that your intuition is highly developed. So this is real. That is what you're experiencing. And then Lucas Ulela, I think Archangel Michael is a real person or a title, which race density, his relation to Arcturians is. Yes, just so that it isn't just the channel that's confirming Regina's question or assumption, we would like to say, yes, that tingling of the back at the top of your skull is your crown chakra opening. And the way that it manifests in sensation is that tingling, which is a type of most pleasant opening up of your energy field and the allowance of your physical body to integrate it. And the way that it interacts with you mentally, you could say, is through the idea of personality, of spirit guides, of other experiences you have had, other personality patterns and angelic resonances, and the great protectors and the angelic realms that are coming through you. And that is a natural segue into the next question, because yes, Archangel Michael is completely real, to the sense that we are also completely real, though we did have physical existence and he never had physical existence. You can think of the archangels as 12th dimensional entities. So it is the way that information is carried directly from source and down to, well, the lower dimensional realms, to say the idea of material density. And he is the type of protector spirit. So he's the type who also makes sure that you won't necessarily go completely astray. And that's also why he lends his protection to so many who ask for it in times of need. Because unlike Metatron, who you could think of as more of almost the engineer of the cosmos, Michael is more of the repairman. And Gabriel is the instructor. You could think of it in those terms. And so the repairman goes down and makes sure that spirit is assisted and helped in dealing with this process of amnesia or memory loss that is going on. And his relationship to us or other intelligent races See, we haven't merged back into source. That is to say, we haven't merged back to the 12th dimension, and we reside in the 9th dimension. Then in that sense, we have experiences we want to explore before we return to it. But from our vantage point, the upper dimensions are visible. Though they are visible, though not accessible to us. But the Archangel Michael lends himself to experiences or assistance throughout different galaxies and throughout different universes. And in our experience, we call this principle, we had different names for it in different times, but I'm speaking from my point in the timeline, and there we call him Click. And that's a K, an L, an I, and a C. And that was simply the relation. That was simply the relationship we had with it. We believe that closed off sound with a slight openness in its end conveys the idea of his energy very well. And we thank you for that question and know that he is with you. And if you call him, he will lend his assistance to you and he blesses you. Yes. And thank you for all the thank yous and your support. It is a co-creation, and that is that's also, it's so beautiful. And so thank you for being here and for putting this in. And yes, the subliminal results is bad, and I should change that. I believe that's what they said. Yes, you can call. Yeah, I'm called. Called mess, which is like actually a saying in Danish. So it's if I'm wrong, you can call me mess. So yes, you can call me mess. And Umblam is of course the name of the entity. And many great blessings. And I think yes, we have no time for no further questions, but there will be many more. I'm getting back to the work here, and there will be a lot of stuff shared. So I will bring you back. Okay, there is a last please and thank you for your advice. Okay, I'm too soft-hearted to not answer that. Do I have an implant on the back of my head? When I was younger, I felt I got abducted. I sometimes hear this buzzing sound. I feel I may be some kind of starseed or possibly alien hybrid. Yes, thank you. It is quite true. Very few people align with this idea. Notice it is still a quite exotic idea, the idea that you may be a starseed, which is to say you actually incarnate more hybrid energy. And the most of the people who from this point in your history, your timeline, is brought into communication with these types of transmissions that we and other entities from your star family do, it is usually because there is a part of your genetic structure that is already resonating with this. And this usually also makes you feel a little at odds. And often that abduction experience you had when you were little, and we can confirm that. And we can also confirm that the entity that abducted you were as a part of related to the hybrid program. So it was related to that idea of, we believe it's the entities you call the IL who were quite happy to try to strengthen this energetic bond with you. And when you think of implants, not worry, because these are not, in a sense, physical implants. It means that you are not necessarily, if you were to perform if you were to pass on, and then someone would perform an autopsy of you, they would not seek an implant. What they instead would probably experience was a very, very, very small cavity, if they even noticed it, that sits approximately at the top of, or at the front of your top spine, right before the brain connects. And this is an energetic implant, so it's a fifth dimensional implant. And when you move further into the fifth dimension, these will actually begin to then become so resonant with the common human experience that you will be able to detect them in each other. And many of you are discovering these implants now. There was a question for the channel if he had an implant, and he said no, because aware of it. And then, strangely enough, we have shown him that these pains that he have experienced in his neck is actually also related to the activation of an Arcturian implant. And when energy stream out from that, and you can, by focusing on this point, they will stream out for that. There is explanation and memories to be had in that, because we sense the abduction experience. There may actually have been several, but many of them you will simply recall as strange dreams where you have awoken in a different state and felt quite altered and maybe a little tired and nauseous from the work that has been done, because it's changed your vibration. And that is something that's meaningful. And they are asking us to remind you that there is a vibration that you can log into this with, and we will try to transmit it so you can get an idea of it. And it goes, that should have helped release some of it. And they're asking you not to fear, because this starseed energy is a blessing, and you are integrated and volunteering for it. And notice that many of you will discover that there are practical gifts related to it, which you will be able to explore further down this centuries unfolding as time passes. In your experience, know that everything is, in a sense, already finished, but morphing within the eternal structure of the cosmos. And with that, as we sense that the channel is becoming a little fatigued with holding this energy of ours, we will transmit a blessing to you, and we will thank you so much for this wonderful co-creation. Know that we, even though we have experienced much, also learn a lot of things from humans when we interact with you, and when your attention is turned towards this co-creation of mutual progress into infinity. We thank you for that. There were many things in the beginning, and they merged into one and became that infinite point. Then, beaming outwards, it again turned into light. Beaming outwards, it again turned into bodies. Beaming outwards, it again turned into systems of great exploration and harmony. You become again aligned with the whole, and the whole is focused back into oneness. This is the great, great joy of uncovering the paradox of being. And being itself is the nature of your nature. Thank you, and we have enjoyed interacting with you. Blessings. Yes, thank you so much, people. What a beautiful experience. There will be, I'm glad it worked out in a way, and I think I'll keep experimenting with the live streams, but there will be many more in the future. So thank you everyone for being here, your questions, liking, sharing, subbing, all that good stuff. So, and you have a lovely full moon out there when it reaches you where you are on the planet. Much love, guys.